Big Daddy Linux is sponsored by UpCloud, which can provide you with superior cloud hosting and cloud infrastructure with unrivaled performance with their Max IOPS technology. Sign up using the promo code BigDaddyLinux, which gives you $25 worth of credit along with a 7-day free trial to see for yourself the UpCloud difference. And welcome to another Biddle on Saturday, June 29th, 2019. How's everybody doing?
Doing well.
Good.
Fantastic.
Doing awesome.
We got a full house already. It's awesome. All right, who's typing? Really?
Barb.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
The laptop, the noisy key.
All right.
Mario Maker 2 came out the other day, and this is all I've been doing for like 3 days.
Okay. Anyway.
Yeah, my son got it.
A little admin to start out with that Linux Spotlight. I don't know if you guys seen Ryan's episode. That's the third episode. Just recorded my man Dan Simmons for episode 4. It's already scheduled for Wednesday.
Cool.
So check that out. But the most exciting part about that is that the audio is now available because Apple took forever to get the podcast through. But the audio is now available for an RSS feed if you want to download it in your favorite podcast player. So is this. This will be uploaded tonight, tomorrow after I get it edited and everything. But so you have Biddle for the RSS, and you now have Linux Spotlight for an RSS feed. So check it out.
Nice.
Cool.
All right. This week, we tried out Open Mandriva. And, I was looking at the Telegram group and the comments, and, it's probably not everybody's favorite. We'll just leave it at that. But it is a distro that people work on and put a lot of effort into. So let's see if we can talk about it with one, being truthful about it, but two, being respectful about it. All right. Who wants to go first? Zeb.
I was just about to say not me.
Yeah, well, you can all imagine that with the complete and utter failure to install NVIDIA, we just go with the N-word. Come on, guys, this is 2019, not 2009. What are you doing presenting me with 384 NVIDIA that ends up on a black screen? I mean, really? Which is a shame, because looking at it and having a look at it while it was still on whatever it was on at the beginning, I could only get into it in no mode set as well. There are very few distributions now that will just power up this beast and put me straight into a screen without having to go no mode set. So it looked nice and it looked like it could be promising, but without 3 screens, without NVIDIA graphics, it's an absolute no-no from me. Sorry.
Right. And let's just specify that the N-word you were talking about was next.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
All right.
Thank you. Next.
Next would be his favorite operating system, right? Next step.
Yeah, next.
Oh, no.
Dan, you got any words for Open Mandriva?
Yeah, so I mean, it really was nice theming. It's Plasma, so that's pretty fantastic. One of my favorite desktop environments. It looked stunning, but when it came time to installing some stuff, it became difficult, at least for me. I don't know if anybody else figured out how to get Telegram installed, or Flatpaks, or Snaps, or any of those things. I don't know. So that's a limitation. I mean, and if it's not in the repo, then you're in trouble. So that was my biggest holdback on it. Other than that, it looked really nice, and it had an up-to-date kernel. That was really cool. So it had some potential.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely has some drawbacks to it. It has some potential to it. The welcome screen is pretty nice. They have a control center for Open Mandriva that you can click into, and that gives you, some of the modules open up various programs, like they have Grub 2 bootloader installed. So like the module to click on for editing your grub opens that program. Some of them lead to KDE modules. But I did notice that the control center and the welcome screen kind of look the same, to the point where I didn't even realize I was in the control center. I thought I was still in the welcome screen until I actually read the words on it.
I was really surprised flat packs were not there, being, sort of, RPM based. So that shocked me a little.
Did you have any trouble installing it, Dan?
No, it installed fine for me, so I didn't have any issues with that.
Well, I did have it fail on the first install on the usual, and that's not specific to Open Mandriva, but it failed to install because of the normal partitioning problems where it can't partition the drives.
Yeah.
Eric, did you try Open Mandriva?
I did, and I took a few notes, but Open Mandriva and I we went on this magical journey into the depths of the mind of the IT guy. So I'll start out with my take on it, and I'll kind of explain the second part. So the first thing that that I noticed was that it actually used sound clips during the install. So it was, it made me feel good. It sang to me. But the big takeaway I had through
Go ahead. Continue your thought. Sorry.
The big takeaway I took was that as far as installations go, it had one of the nicer GUI installers, so I was able to step through everything and then run the first time setup. The only problem I ran into was I booted into the live environment and ran through the first time welcome screen, and then realized that it was part of the live image and not part of the install. So I got to run through that process twice. But
well, you mentioned the sounds. Now, did you find that? I mean, I guess it's normal on KDE or Plasma or whatever, but the default volume is like 46%. So like the sounds are blaring when it comes out to speakers when you boot up.
Deepin has them at 100, so it's even worse.
Oh my!
Ouch. I did notice that, but my distro hopping laptop is just a little ThinkPad. The speakers are absolutely terrible on it, to be honest. So I could barely make out the sounds the first time it booted. So it wasn't too bad. Now, if I was plugged into my 2.1 surround sound that I've got on my desk, that might have woken up people halfway down the hall.
Right.
But so my issue was I kind of had an unfortunate realization while I was playing with it. I'm very much set in my ways. I've only been an active member of the community for 2 or 3 years, and only been using Linux full time for a couple years longer than that. And I've come to realize I'm very much set in my ways. If it's not apt or if it's not DNF, I'm not as likely to use it as a daily driver. So unfortunately, that's kind of closed my mind off to new distros, and so I think part of my problem was I really struggled to see where I could use it on a regular basis. But it did have a really nice implementation of Plasma. So the journey that I'm on now, and coupled with a customer call where I'm running GNOME on Arch. I run Arch, by the way.
Of course.
I'm using GNOME, and I had the Do Not Disturb extension running, but apparently it was like mid-update or something when I started the call. So I'm in Zoom, I'm getting ready to give a product demo for work, and all of a sudden, Telegram goes off, and I've got my ears in, and so the customers were really, really soft. So I had it cranked way up. I thought, okay, I'll be safe. I've got Do Not Disturb on, right? No, halfway through the introduction of my demo, all of a sudden, just 3 messages back to back to back, just in my ears. And Telegram is closed, and I'm still getting notifications. So it's like, okay, I need to make a switch. So open Mandriva, and then customer call that blew up in my ears has led me to reinstall Fedora KDE. So that's kind of what I've been playing with this week. I'm trying to figure out how to make my GNOME workflows work under Plasma the best I can.
Yeah, that's definitely a switch. I mean, it can be done, but it's definitely a switch, and you definitely got to work out some kinks to get it to be what you want. Did anybody notice that the icons are humongous?
Yes.
I mean, I'm I get caught up on these little things, but the desktop icons are, well, we'll just say they're bigger than gnomes. I'm looking at it on my test machine here, and they are huge, humongous.
I mean, you say humongous, I say accessible.
Right, accessible. Well, nobody is going to have trouble finding these or seeing these, let me tell you.
I didn't notice it, but that's probably because I don't usually use desktop icons, so I haven't had a thing to compare it to in a while.
You mean in Dolphin, or do you mean on the desktop? I think in Dolphin.
I don't really use desktop icons.
No, Dolphin.
Oh, you're talking about the. Okay, hold on. Let me boot up Dolphin.
But yeah, they're big even in Dolphin. The defaults are set that way.
Oh wow, yeah, those are huge.
Yeah, they're like 128.
Yeah.
Yeah, I might have
My
just.
desktop icons are fine.
Well, they were a little bigger, but not crazy. Not like when you open the file manager. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Did anybody have any trouble installing the NVIDIA drivers, Zeb?
Yes, I did, and I mean, my first attempt was like, let's get it booted up. Right now, let's go NVIDIA. Okay, let's go to the website. Let's go to the forums. Type in NVIDIA. Okay, let's see if they've spelled NVIDIA differently. Type in NVIDIA again, and there's just absolutely nothing to even hint that you can get it done. So I did an immediate next. I'm not having this. This is crazy. But then I think it was Aris or Vash in the Biddle channel said, well, have you looked at the welcome screen? So I thought, no, let's go back in there and jump on the welcome screen and trawl my way through the 42 episodes of what is welcome to various bits and pieces. And it brings a whole new concept to the, unlike you, Rocket, I didn't know whether I was in the welcome screen or I was in the control center. They seem to muddle the two up. So I eventually gave up on that and went back to Google. So that was my second next, because that failed. And then I found an old thread that talked about installing NVIDIA. So yeah, I got it up on the Raspberry Pi on the left screen, had Open Mandriva in front of me, and I started following the instructions. I thought, yeah, great, this is good. Fired up the instructions, and I put in the NVIDIA currents, and I'm watching 384 go past, and I'm going, no, I'm not seeing that right. It must be something to do with the Raspberry Pi has mucked up my screen. So I get it all running, reboot, black screen. And I thought, how in 2019 can you not provide the drivers that, despite what Ryan will tell you, are still used by 60% of the gamers?
Yep.
So it's just infuriating that there were no, and even doing it the hard way, downloading the .run file, blacklisting Nuvo and doing everything that normally works on every other repo, wasn't having it.
Well, I agree. We are spoiled today because so many distros just give you so many good tools to install things, including the NVIDIA drivers, that when you get to something like this, like, I don't know, 2 years ago, we wouldn't probably be having this conversation because that's the normal way to go about things. But now that we're where we are, it's like, you kind of expect a distro to give you that ability to install drivers easily. And I didn't have much luck with that either, Zeb. So I looked, there is in the community screen that they have, the community portal, they have a post about installing the NVIDIA drivers, but it must be so outdated that they change things, because it talked about going to the control center hardware and display drivers or something, and graphics drivers, and that's no longer there in the control center. So yeah, I was down to the .run file. I had exhausted all other options, and I ran out of time installing it. So
yeah, I had it installed fine on my laptop. Everything got set up, and then as soon as and I know my laptop is usually the sticking point for a lot of distros having the NVIDIA Optimus card. But I mean, I installed the driver, and occasionally I'll have to do no mode set, or like there's a workable solution. This was just, I mean, it literally wouldn't even load. I couldn't get to TTY. I finally was able to get in. I tried to remove it, go back to Nouveau. Then I couldn't even use like external peripherals, like my mouse wasn't working. I mean, it just fell apart, and I'm like, okay, I guess that's that. So it's a shame because I feel like they're so close, right? They've got a lot of good things going for them. And just like Zeb, I mean, I was like, well, maybe I just did it wrong. Couldn't find anything on the welcome screen, nothing at all in the documentation on the website, nothing in the forum, nothing on Google. I just kind of felt like, well, I guess it's not for me then. So unfortunately, I had to move on as well.
Anybody got anything positive to say about it, other than the fact that it looks really good? And I mean, it takes 2 seconds to hold your scroll wheel and control key and reduce the size of the icons, but 128 is a bit weird. So,
well, there are some positives to this. I mean, like if you go into the welcome screen and they give you a contribute link, now they have probably, I don't know, it looked like 9 to 12 different things you could do to contribute to Open Mandriva, and donations was the last one. So, I mean, documentation was a big one, helping in the forums. I thought that was pretty impressive that they're asking for the help that they need, and they're not, you know, money was not at the top of that list. I thought that was great. I don't know.
To be fair, with the speed of their download servers, maybe money should be a little higher up.
Well, I mean, that was also one of the things that was on there, was to, if you can help with servers, and if you want to donate servers to them. So, you know.
Yeah,
where did you see that, Rocco?
That's
sorry.
on the, hold on, that's on the welcome screen, and it should be on the contribute.
Donate. Okay, I see it now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Chris, you had something to say.
And wasn't it also on the desktop when you're running the running it from the USB?
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Bart.
Okay, that's what I thought I saw. I mean, at least they were upfront about it, and you don't have to go digging to find how to, you know, what they expect in terms of donating time, etc.
All right, Joshua, you are up, sir. Did you try Open Mandriva?
Yeah, of course. I can actually kind of understand how everybody is getting these constipated like experiences. I can kind of understand it. For some reason, when I was doing the installation, the grub menu, I think one of the options didn't work or it was placed wrongly. But besides that, setup was nice. And also, when you log in, you have this beautiful piano core. Well, I don't know. It's like, I don't know if you can hear it, but I just started my VM so I can put it on. It's like it just, and then it chords. And I think that's kind of beautiful, yes. But it's pretty nice. But the thing is, the way how they kind of, I mean, if you just look at it, it looks beautiful. It looks awesome. But the thing is,
that sound kind of took me back, because not many distros really include a default startup sound anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
Ubuntu. I miss the Ubuntu drums sometimes.
Yeah.
But otherwise, besides that, you know, you're kind of getting tricked here, and they really want you to donate a lot. I think that's a little too much. And yeah,
I'm not sure what you mean, Joshua, about getting tricked or wanting to donate, because I think that was a plus that they had the donations at the very end of the contribute screen.
And they also tell you what the options are. It's not just like their handout and give us money.
Right. Well,
donations
was not up there.
It's more
yeah.
And but besides that, like, there's a lot of downsides that people are saying, the driver issues and stuff. But I think that the real thing that really makes a big impact, I don't know if anyone noticed. Did anybody try installing something like a repository or another desktop? Because that didn't work for me. It didn't even really exist. And also their help forms are kind of a little not really used. So I think that we should still donate, join the community and stuff. But I would say that, man, it's got to work itself up if it wants to join the lead of our Linux distros today. And yeah, that's all I have to say. Randomness, part 3.
For me, this was a really nice surprise, as I'm not a great user of, or I haven't liked Plasma so much, but this was like totally positive Plasma environment for me, and it was just like using Fedora in many ways, and some way quite much cleaner.
But at least with Fedora, you can get NVIDIA drivers installed and you can install software. You can get Telegram working. You can have a user experience. You might not necessarily like the way they do things, and you might think they could do things better. But I can get a Fedora install done and up and running in 40 minutes. I could spend 40 years on that thing and never get it working. So, all right, then. So, Vash, on to the next one. We'll get back to you in a moment, Huma, because I noticed you said there was something in the chat that you'd mentioned I wanted to pick up with you. So, Vash, did you try Open Mandriva?
I got to mess around with it in a VM a little bit. The performance wasn't great, but I think that was just a VM more than anything. So, but it looked nice. I liked that they went dark theme. It was the transparency that they had was nice. I think overall, it looked clean, and I do like that in a distro. The defaults were pretty good. Windows key opened the start menu thing, and then the Control-Alt-T brought up the terminal, which I don't think Kubuntu does by default, which kind of annoys me. I'm sure I could fix it, but I just haven't. So those are just two nice things to have by default. It's just nice to, have a lot of those settings already done. I ran the updates with DNF. It ran fine. I didn't, rebooted fine. Didn't have any issues there. And, ultimately I didn't mess with it too much further when it comes to trying to install other things and things like that. But I mean, I did notice the control center and the welcome screen looked the same. In fact, when I brought it up, I like Rocco, thought it was the same thing. I didn't even look further because I was just out of time at that point to really kind of look, and I had other things going on today. But I did notice that as well. It looks like they use the exact same, framework or window or something for that control center.
Well, that would be fine, Vash, if they use the same framework, but kind of differentiate it somehow.
Yeah, just do a little something to make it more obvious what you're in.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, overall, it seemed pretty cool. I would have to really, put some more time in with the, looking in the repos and all that kind of stuff to really see overall. But just trying to get used to DNF since I just haven't used it as much. But yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right, sounds good. Cubicle Nate, are you there, my friend?
I am here.
Good.
Has my mic gone crazy yet?
No.
Okay,
no,
great.
that was only in the pre-show.
Oh, okay. I was kind of worried. All right, so Open Mandriva. So I started out. I should say I started out my Linux journey on Mandrake Linux, which later turned into Mandriva Linux. So there is a soft spot in my heart for anything with Mandriva or Mandriva related. So now, like right off the bat, I don't like the going right into live session. I'd like to have just installed it from the bootloader, but it wasn't an option, so I went into it. The theme was nice. The installer was easy. I think I can never remember the name of the different installers, but it was a
Calamaris.
There we go. See, Colin, I don't know what I'd do without you. Thank you so much for being here. You saved my bacon. So the theme was great. I did think it was fantastic. A little more transparency than standard Breeze, and they had like the little Open Mandriva logo in the corner. I like that. I really liked the welcome screen. It was a nice rundown of, hey, this is what we are. This is where you go to things, and the buttons actually works. I thought was a really nice place to launch. I thought it was a little bit too much information, though. I think they probably could have scaled that back a little bit. It was nice that they had DNF because I'm fairly familiar with DNF because of our good friends at Fedora. It was a little bit of a surprise. I was expecting URPMI since that's what came from Mandriva, but whatever. So that was was it from there. I did notice that the application manager system, that was very Mandriva-like. Looks like they kind of tweaked the look of it a little bit, changed the fonts, kind of changed some of the layout a little bit. But I was very familiar with that. It's okay. It just feels a little bit dated to me. I don't know why. Maybe because of my time on OpenSUSE, but whatever. It worked great. I didn't mind it really. Ultimately, it's fine. So dislike. I was kind of hoping for URPMI actually. I would have preferred that, but I realize it's older. It's probably not as good as DNF. Zipper would have been even better,
right?
I think. If they would have had Zipper on that back end, man, I think I could have jumped to it no problem. And then. I mean, really, I didn't dislike anything else about it. It ran great. I use AMD and Intel, so I don't have your NVIDIA problems. So it really, I mean, it just was not a problem for my systems. Then could I live in Open Mandriva? Yes, I think I could. I think I'd be happy there, but it's not compelling enough for me to switch from my beloved OpenSUSE.
All right.
We would have to stop the show if it was so, Nate.
Right. This is true, Vash. This is totally true.
No, actually, if it would have been, I'd lie about it. I'm kidding.
I think I would have to rethink everything I ever thought was true.
Or it could be that too, yeah.
All right, then, Cubicle Nate, thanks for bringing a positive spin. It's always good.
Yep.
Aris, I'm pretty sure it was you who pointed me towards that help screen that unfortunately didn't help.
Yeah, I used the welcome screen also later on. At first, I just dismissed it, but then I figured out you can get to the repos from there.
Mm-hmm.
As far as Open Mandriva, there's little things I don't like about it. Like I don't like the fact that by dragging the windows to the border can also lead it to go into another workspace. It's not just the tiling; it's both. So it sometimes, for me, inadvertently, you would go to the other workspace by accident. I know you can switch that, but I think defaults matter a lot for distros. And I think also that I wish that Open Mandriva had Snap in the repos. I think it being not one of the major bases, it would benefit from having a universal package manager like Snap or Flatpak. I did notice you do have Flatpak in the repos if you enable other repos, not the main ones. I also didn't like that there was a lot of things installed by default. It seemed kind of big. The ISO was like over 2 gigabytes. Not that big, but bigger than usual, I think. And it had like VLC, SM player, MBP player. It had like 3 players. I don't know why you need 3 players. And I wish it would have had like a full browser installed, not Falcon, because I've always had issues with the minimal browsers. They always end up crashing my system for some reason. I don't know why, but I as soon as I was able to, I installed Firefox, and that I could get that installed. Some things that I did like about Mandriva was that it did have very pretty wallpapers. Some of the wallpapers also, besides the flower one, are very pretty, and they're kind of was towards the end because they were mostly Open Mandriva ones at first, but you could get to them. I also, even though I love Plasma, I don't really like Discover, and this is like one of the only distros I've seen that doesn't ship Discover, which I actually like. I do not like Discover at all, and I prefer their package manager to Discover actually. And another thing, even though it was kind of clunky, the welcome screen, I did like that there was an option there to add extra repos, which not everybody does, and sometimes adding repos is kind of a very complicated way, but there you could just click and select, and it would install all the repos that were available. And that's pretty much it for Open Mandriva. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Well, it for me, it sort of sums it up when a positive is the wallpapers. Really?
Look, I'm going to give you another positive, Zeb.
Go on in.
Everybody talks about KDE having too many settings, and Eric, you can talk to this, okay? KDE has a ton of settings, and people get upset by that, or they get taken back by that. And yet, in the welcome screen, you have a spot to configure your system, and it pretty much does what I had been saying before, that KDE ought to switch to a simple and advanced in their settings, to have a simple area where just things that normal everyday people are going to use, like change your desktop icons or change your desktop theme, and then have an advanced mode for people who want to see all the other settings. Well, that's basically what they did in their welcome screen. And they have it configure your network, your display and monitor, configure your printer, desktop themes, desktop icons, and open the Mandriva Control Center. That's basically that in a nutshell. And I think that's a great thing.
Yeah. And I guess had I been looking at a screen that was bigger than 1024 by 768, I'd have seen all of that.
Shots fired. Shots fired.
It sounds like, Zeb, a lot of your issues with Linux could be resolved by following these 3 simple steps.
Oh my gosh, here we go.
If you're going to mention that color, then I will come to Self next year just to have a conversation.
With a baseball bat.
I think everyone needs you to say this.
Well, okay, because it's been asked of me, I will share my experiences. Shut down your system, replace NVIDIA with AMD, power on your system. I think that'll fix all of your problems.
Except my games will then be 20% slower. At least.
Yes,
I
pretty
highly
much.
doubt that.
Really?
Well, I had the Vega 64 was the greatest thing out, according to Das Geek. I installed it. My 1050 was better, or my 1060 at the time was better, and this was a $700 premium card. Sorry, I'm waiting for the new NVIDIA to come out because the guy from OpenShot promises me that I can have both NVIDIA and AMD in my card, and I can switch between the two on Linux. We wait to see whether or not that can be done.
All right, Eric Adams, how are you, sir?
I'm good, thank you. So I mentioned that I had issues installing it. So as I normally do, I install on a VM first, and I didn't have any issues. So I thought, okay, let's give it a shot on hardware. And I will say, I don't know how or why, but it took like 3 minutes to install. It was the fastest install I have ever experienced on this laptop after trying 30 different distributions. And I don't know what that is, how they did it. And it wasn't just that I wasn't paying attention, because I was actually playing with Falcon and messing around. And I looked back, and it had only been just a few minutes, and it was done. And so we usually say, oh, you know how it gets to the point where it's unsquashing or whatever it's doing, and then you kind of have to sit and wait for it to do that, and then it installs like this. So I'm not going to go on and on about it, but for whatever reason, they figured out how to do that, and that's pretty cool. So if other distros could figure that out too. So the biggest issue for me is documentation. They're just really, it's just not there. I mean, so from the driver itself, having the issues trying to install it, I figured out how to open and install the different repos or enable the repos, and that unlocked some different software so I could get Flatpak running and get some other stuff installed. But yeah, like I said, once I had tried to do the NVIDIA driver incorrectly, I suppose, I thought I was doing it the right way. It completely destroyed the system to the point where it was almost impossible for me to recover. I'm sure I could have, but it just, I took it about 3 hours in, and I was just sort of like, okay, I'm done. But there are definitely some positives. I just feel like they're so close, right? I mean, if they keep down this path, they've obviously got some great choices in terms of defaults and things. If they just get some help with, they keep down this.
Hey, there's Michael.
Yeah, if they can continue forward, I think in another release or two, there's probably going to be something interesting to see here. There were just, the other thing I think was confusing was I was trying to figure out, if you go under the repos, there's an update channel, and it's either rock, rolling, or cooker, or release. So there's 4 different choices there. Rock is the default. I was really interested to see, so if I go to rolling, does that mean I get updated packages? And I found one forum post from like 2017 that sort of described what these are, but nothing in the documentation, nothing that says, if you prefer a rolling release, then come in here and switch this. So if anyone really enjoys this distribution, I definitely think if you want to make a difference, see if you can do some things, basic things with documentation. How do we install the drivers we need? How do we enable repositories? How do we decide what update channel we want to run? We're talking real simple things here, because a lot of this is already well put together. It just somebody just needs to explain how best to use it.
Yep, I agree. And can I say, Zeb, that it felt so good to mute Michael when he came in? I'm just saying. You're still muted, Michael. Thanks.
You're still muted,
Tony, did you get to try Open Mandriva?
Yes, I did. It's a good implementation of the Plasma desktop. As I only have Intel graphics, I didn't have any problems. I didn't like the software center. I'm not a fan of DNF Dragora. It's the one thing I don't like about Fedora. But it did work. And as for the big icons, well, us old folks, we need the bigger icons because they're easier for us to see. I tend to have bigger icons anyway, so that really didn't bother me. I'd never really noticed that. Yeah, generally, I think it's quite good. And as somebody earlier said, I'm not sure who it was now, but they said if they keep going in the direction they're going, it will get better. So more positive than negative on this one.
Well, I will say to that, Tony, that it could be my resolution. I'm at 1920 by 1080 just because of the screen that it's on. So I don't know if that has anything to do with how big the icons are, but that's... Yeah.
I'm on a 1920 by 1080 as well.
They're huge, dude. I mean, they're bigger than GNOME. I mean...
When you look at the difference between your age and my age, big is good.
It's not that much of a difference, I don't think. I'm just saying.
Oh, trust me, there is a big difference.
All right, Adam, sir.
What's up?
What's happening, brother?
Not much.
Did you get to try it?
In an interest of being positive, no.
All right, there we go. Kevin, how are you, sir?
Doing great. Thanks.
Did you get to try Open Mandriva?
I did not, but I will tell you that it's one of the first distributions way back in the day that I tried. Mandriva was, and I'm glad to see that somebody's keeping the flame alive, I guess.
Well, do us a favor, just drop back in the DeLorean and grab them by the scruff of the neck and bring them into 2019, please.
I don't know. I think 2019 is all about them open source drivers on Team Red.
Where's that mute button?
Yep.
Oh, by the way, Team Red.
Well, Zeb, I said you could go, but I gotta say, Colin, did you have trouble installing lib264, dude? You're muted, dude.
Yes, I did.
Why would you have trouble installing lib264, Colin?
Well, if you type it wrong, you'll have trouble putting it in.
Colin made a video on his channel about Open Mandriva, and he was trying to install the codec to have the screen recorder work. And it was supposed to be lib64 or something, and he was typing in lib264. Couldn't figure out why it wasn't installing.
I did it on the first. I installed it about 3-4 times, and I nuked one of the installs, and I can't remember how I did that, but I'm very good at that. But I knew what I was doing. I said, "Yep, I've got this. I've done my little text document, wrote it all down. Didn't realize I'd written lib264 instead of lib64." And I spent an hour. And then I was enabling this repo and that repo and all these other repos. I thought, this is just crazy. What am I doing wrong? Anyway, that was part of my journey. But look, the welcome screen is good. It's a bit comprehensive. It's got a lot of stuff in there, but some of the things when you're in certain areas of the welcome screen, you don't really know what part of the welcome screen you're in, because the part of it, like if you're in the applications, it's not highlighting applications, so you don't really know where you are in the welcome screen. So that would be nice if they could sort of highlight those things a bit. I'm confused over the repos because they've got so many of them. Like who mentioned Eric, was it? They got the release, they got the rock, they got the rolling, they got the cooker. I don't know what either end of them do. So I just stuck with the defaults, and I was very confused over DNF Dragora. And I'm searching for packages, and no search results are coming up. But you've got to click. What is it? There's something you have to click, so you're actually searching in something, which really confused me. And that's not their fault. That's probably my lack of knowledge on DNF Dragora. So I'm not criticising that thing at all.
Sorry, Colin. I would tend to disagree with that one, because if you click search and then you search and you click the button search, and it doesn't find something because you haven't clicked somewhere else totally random and obscure, that's got to be their fault. You go to the search screen, you type something in, you click search, you should get a result or no search found. Not have to work out which one of the drop downs you have to pick to get search to actually work. It should work straight away.
I think it defaults I think it defaults to the updates, so you're probably searching the updates instead of what you were.
I think you're right. Might be right there actually. Or was it installed? I can't remember which.
It was weird. I think DNF Dragora defaults to searching updates, and even does that in Fedora, and that's just a bad default.
It is.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Fair enough. So it's not my fault then. I take that back. I apologise to myself.
Sounds like you had a good picnic.
But look, I tried to get. I went to Zoom website and downloaded the RPM because it's RPM based, and double clicked it and nothing happened. Then I tried the URPMI, so I installed that, and then I tried to install the RPM with that. That didn't work. So I'm a little bit confused because it is an RPM base, but the RPMs don't install. But I was going through this welcome screen here and found, what did I find? I found something to install some sort of RPM build or something. So I don't know whether that would work.
I think maybe experiencing is that it might not support installing directly, like from opening like an RPM file, kind of like how in some distros you have to like install Eddy or something like that.
Right,
So
and
it
that's
sounds
what.
like. Yeah, it sounds like they're missing some kind of handler to handle the individual RPM files. I know in Fedora, which I tried this past week, it will try to open the RPM files in Discover. So,
right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I did see, I can't find it now. So that's probably one of the drawbacks of the welcome screen, is trying to find something that you've seen can be pretty hard because there's so many things to click on. So I'm running it on the laptop here. I'm just going through it, but I don't know how to turn off the jingle. How do you turn off the jingle? Now, if you want a jingle, that's fine. I don't really want a jingle, and I thought I woke half the household up.
It's under notifications, Colin, in the system settings.
I still don't know how to do it. I've been to notifications. I don't know how to do it. So is that my lack of plasma knowledge, or
it is?
I
it
don't
is,
know.
Colin.
Okay, all right.
I think it's a forgotten thing because most distros don't do that by default anymore.
To be fair, where Plasma put it is kind of weird.
It is.
It's not.
Plasma. This is.
Quick tip for you, Colin. Your speakers have got an on-off button, mate.
Yes, that's true, Zeb. But,
especially if you're doing it at X o'clock in the morning, you're waking the whole family.
I did 4 installs, Zeb. So I mean, every time you install, it's playing a jingle.
Well, you know what? I said I wouldn't mind the jingle if the default volume wasn't set at 46% and my speakers didn't blare it out. I mean,
Rocco, I think, to be fair, in their defense, a lot of speakers and stuff have independent volume control, and I think a lot of people have their system volume at max typically and control the actual output with dials or headphone things.
Well, I don't.
I feel like less than 50% is a decent default.
But you can't control the volume till it's started, right?
Correct.
Pretty much.
Well, I mean,
So-
if you have a volume on your speaker, like Chicken said, then you can. But
If you got it, yes, that's right. And the other thing is, I was looking at, it's got some utilities there where you can go through the desktop and desktop themes and icons, but they don't have anything really extra that I've seen in regards to themes and icons, pretty much the Plasma defaults with the Adwaita. So I would have thought if you've got that option there, you would have had something else in there that was some sort of Mandriva specific or something, but it's pretty much just the default. So I don't see having that stuff in there unless it's just there to show you where to go and how to adjust your icons and themes. I'm not sure. That's probably what it's there for. Not a bad distro. It runs okay, but there's just a lot of things in there that probably could, if it's confusing for me, it would probably be confusing for a few other people, especially new users. So especially not a new user distro for sure. So my experience wasn't that bad. It seems though software, unless it's part of the welcome screen and the software in there, it seems to be difficult to get some things running. Somebody mentioned snaps. You can enable snaps. Where do you do that?
I said that I wanted it to be available. It's not available.
Yeah,
the repos.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So that's my experience, Rocco. It's not a bad one, but there's a few little things they could probably. I think the welcome screen. I think somebody mentioned they could strip it back a bit and maybe just step you through the most common things that need to be done, rather than having to click here, there, and everywhere, and maybe have something that can educate people on what those repos do. There is a repo picker there, so you can turn them all on and off, and you can enable the non-free and the all the others.
Well, I think, Colin, I think you may be doing what I was doing, was confusing the control center with the welcome screen. The welcome screen isn't that detailed as far as it is pared back. It's the control center that has all of that stuff you're talking about, where the repos are and stuff like that. So, but like I said, they look exactly the same, so you wouldn't know you were in either one. So
yes, well they've got like add restricted, add unsupported, and then when you do add them, there's nothing there telling you that one's already been added. Like it doesn't have a little tick on it. So it's got the remove unsupported, remove the restricted, but it doesn't sort of tell you which one's actually been enabled or not. So that was that could be sort of improved as well. And you're right that they do look the same, so you can get confused as to where you are. So that could be sort of changed a little bit as well, I think. But not a bad experience. Software is probably just a bit of an issue getting things installed, and those repos, you need to know what they do, I think. Be something there to tell you what their purpose is really at the end of the day. So
cool. All right. Well, thanks very much indeed, Colin. Barbara,
I just want to help Colin out if I could just a little bit.
Yeah, please do.
Okay.
So Colin, so you go to System Settings, Notifications, Application Settings. Under Plasma Workspace, you can change the login sound, and then that or disable it right from there.
Notifications.
I actually. Notifications, application settings, and then under Plasma Workspace, and then it'll give you a list of every different notification that you can configure, which is a pretty long list, which is what makes Plasma awesome,
and also unwieldy and unusable for so many people.
No, that's not.
It seems like they changed that recently, and it seems to be more of a pain to get to.
I'm sorry, what they make a pain to get to, Tyler?
So I was saying, it seems like it used to be easier to get to the notification sound settings, and now it seems like I'm going through like 2 or 3 more steps than I used to have to go through.
Well, it's right under System Settings. If you're looking at it through the tree, like on the left-hand side, Notifications is right under Personalization. So that's like one click. You open System Settings and you get the notifications, but then you have to drop down the event source drop-down menu where you pick which notification you're talking about. And then that's the specific notification you're going to be turning on or off or disabling or playing a different sound. And each one is different. Go ahead.
It also breaks down by application and so forth. So there's a lot of configuration, a lot of customization, a lot of power they give to the user there, as opposed to having to, give you nothing like
a nice simple on-off.
No.
Yeah.
There's no application setting under the event source, though. That's I don't know.
No,
Anyway.
under event source, you have to pick which you're going for. Like, are you going to turn off the sounds for accessibility? Are you going to turn off the sounds for instant messaging or K-mail?
Okay.
So it depends
Okay.
on what you're
Settings.
trying to do. Like
Click on configure events after that.
for your login sounds, I believe they're under Plasma Workspace.
That's correct.
And then you would just highlight whatever. Actually, it's right here. You would highlight log out or log in, and then you can uncheck that play a sound. So it's all there. It's just kind of, it's KDE, dude. It's like,
So your
detail.
challenge, Colin, should you accept it, is find it and let us know you turned it off. You've got till the end of the show.
All right.
All right then, Barbara. Have you tried?
Yes, I
OpenMandriva?
actually did. The first thing that I did was obviously I looked at it using just the live USB. And then I installed it on my ThinkPad T420. And actually it installed very well and the installation went fine the first time, no problems. I also, on that one, it only has the integrated Intel graphics, so it's not a problem. So I didn't have any of the graphics problems. I also was able to install it on, not the cat, but okay. Till later, then he can sit in my lap. I also was able to install it not on, on drive A or whatever, but on the secondary one, the secondary SSD that I had. And that worked out really well, and it booted up perfectly. I like the welcome screen. I thought they did a nice job. I agree it was a little bit too much. I think a new user could get a little bit overwhelmed, but they had something that I thought on the welcome screen that I think would confuse people. And you see, it says network configuration. So you go over there and that's not how you connect your Wi-Fi, but I think a lot of people would think, oh, that I can just click on that. And, they don't even, I didn't even bother to look at my little icons on the bottom panel. But, that was one thing. So you go to network configuration and it's not what some people would think. Then it came to printers. Now that was a fun thing because I tried to, it saw my two printers. I have two HP printers and it saw both of them. And I went in and I installed it. I did everything. And then when I went to print something, there are no printers. It says there aren't any installed. And the same thing with scanning. They use ScanLight, which is fine, but it didn't see my scanner that's on one of the HPs because it's a multifunction. And I thought that was really weird. And I didn't go ahead and install the HP, the little drivers, because it found everything. It found the model and everything, and it found the correct driver. So I don't know what that is. Sometimes I found what you have to do is just install the HP LIP, the GUI application, and then for some reason then everything works. So that was that. So those were my printers, and it happened with both printers. One is just a little LaserJet M15, which it's really simple, and the other was my multifunction printer. Now comes the thing that drove me nuts: the trackpad and the mouse. I go in to hardware in the control panel, and it's not there. It has printers, other things, but it wasn't there. I know it's somewhere, but I didn't go digging around for it. I'm used to seeing, mice, trackpads, they're hardware, right? Should be right there in the little hardware thing. So that was another thing. And I just thought that was kind of weird. Let me see what else. I did that. Okay. Overall, I thought I liked the way it looked. I'm not a KDE Plasma fan, but I could actually, I think if I played around with it some more and just dug around where everything exists, I'd be able to use it. I liked the way it was, but the fact that it had issues with the printers, that to me that shouldn't happen anymore. Yeah, it happened when we were running, 2, 3, 5 years ago even. I haven't had that kind of a problem with Ubuntu from 14.04 forward. So anytime I started having problems with printers, it was like what always turned me off with Solus was that Solus had problems with the scanner part of my printer. Now that works. So yeah, it sits on one machine and I kind of play with it once in a while. But other than that, I mean, it looked nice. It booted up quickly. It installed well. And it really, I think if they could fix some of those things like with the printers, you shouldn't have to go and install a bunch of stuff after it's found your printer. So those were my bugaboos. Oh, and I did have a comment that I think it was Eric, the top line Eric, the IT guy. You were talking about whenever you got out of Telegram, when you exited it, it would just keep going. It was still running. Didn't you say that?
Right, under GNOME.
Right. My Mac does that. So I don't know. I think it may be something weird, but Mac OS does the same thing. I actually have to go up there, quit it, and sometimes I just have to go and just force quit. So I don't know if it's something weird with.
I got a 3-step plan for that, Barb.
Huh?
I got a 3-step plan to fix that.
It's a messaging application, so similar to music players, download managers, and such. They shouldn't actually quit when the window is closed, but they keep functioning behind the scenes, so you still get notifications.
Yeah, but the thing, but what I'm saying is when you go up into the little icon at the top, and you click quit, it should quit.
I see. Okay, that's from the system tray. All right.
Right. Yeah. So and the Mac does the same thing, and it's really weird. So the current version of Mac OS does that.
And Windows does it for some applications too. Skype, for instance.
Mm-hmm. Somehow some flag's not getting set.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the one thing I wanted to bring up, that I've had that problem with my Mac, with that, with Telegram.
All right. Well, thanks very much indeed.
You're welcome.
Dark One, what obscure piece of equipment did you put Open Mandriva on?
It's almost like you know him, Zeb.
Oh, I don't know what you're talking about, Zeb. Like you, my friend, I live tested it, worked fine, tried installing it. When you can't even connect to the internet via Wi-Fi, via an Intel Centrino card, you automatically just go to the next pile.
Mm-hmm.
This got the touchscreen worked, everything worked because I installed it on the Sony Vaio Duo that I use as my test machine. Everything worked on it, which is great, except for the Wi-Fi, which is kind of detrimental, seeing how this doesn't have Ethernet. So as far as aesthetics, a few things that I did notice. I did like the welcome screen. However, the fact that it starts minimized and windowed, and the next button, it runs up into the white portion of the actual welcome screen. A little attention to detail that they might want to fix. When you expand it, how about instead of the white box staying up here in the corner, it actually gets centered in the screen when you go full screen?
Mm-hmm.
Little quality of life.
So you liked it?
I liked I like certain implementations that they tried doing. I like the welcome screen. I like that they're trying to make KDE a little more accessible. I like the fact that they had basically what Chaos has with Captain or whatever utility there that is.
Yep.
I like that they're trying to simplify that aspect of it. All great. I love that. But unfortunately, like Zeb said, it's just the next for me. I appreciate what they're trying to do, though.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, thanks so much indeed. Chris, how was your experience with Open Mandriva?
I go away for a week and I forget where the mute button is. Well, now that I can actually get a chance to talk, let's see here. Well, I got a little bit behind the 8 ball, and I didn't actually install Mandriva probably until about maybe about 4 or 5 o'clock this afternoon. So I haven't had a chance to fully test it out. But I was really surprised in the ease that I had in installing this. I had no problems. I did not erase my previous disk structure, which was Farron. I still had Farron on this system. So what I did is I just told to use those same partitions and write over, just format them. And it installed like a dream. When when I got up on the system, came up, not a problem. Took me a moment to figure out what the browser was because I couldn't find Conquer, I couldn't find Firefox, I couldn't find anything, and then it was like, oh, okay, there it's free something. Anyway, and to my wonderful surprise, it did have the codecs that I could actually put YouTube, so I'm watching the stream on Mandriva now. And anyhow, haven't really had a problem with it yet. I was overly joyed to find that it was DNF. I'm very at home in DNF, being a Fedora fanboy, sort of. And so once I found it was DNF, it was like, okay, let's run the updates. Got that done. Got the I found Flatpak, but anytime I try to install something, install Flatpak, it gives me the prompt back, and that's it. So I don't know. I may have needed to do one other thing on that. So I can't remember who was saying that they couldn't get Flatter Snap installed. There's just a couple other things that I would need to test out to fully adopt this. I don't think I would use it as daily driver right now, but it is a very close contender. And even though Fedora is a 9-month release schedule, it doesn't seem to hurt my production at all. So I'm staying with Fedora for now. But this didn't. I did not have a bad experience with this yet.
Nice.
So that's about it.
All right, Tyler. I do have to say before we go any further, we are running out over the hour, so we are running out of time. But I don't want to stop the discussion. I just want to say that so everybody's aware of it.
Right.
But go ahead, Tyler. What did you think of Open Mandriva?
So first impressions, it was fast on my old ThinkPad. Installer was really nice. The startup sound brought me back to a day when those were still a thing. And I believe that startup sound dates back to even KDE 4. I don't believe a new one has been made for Plasma 5 because, again, who actually uses that as default? The issues I started running into is when I started to kind of configure and customize Plasma. The first thing I like to do is I like to run Git versions of all the LatteDoc stuff just so I could test it and play around with it. And trying to get the dev packages for all the KDE stuff was a bit of a pain, either the differing package names from what I'm used to or the fact I couldn't even find any documentation on whether there's actually meta packages or not. That was a struggle. I tried looking on the website, but the documentation just seemed very sparse. And then when it came to trying to grab the app menu stuff so I can have a global menu working, I couldn't find any app menu packages. And I think that's kind of where I stopped. And the next night, I threw Fedora 30 KDE on that ThinkPad for the rest of the week.
Hey, it's all good, brother.
Yep.
I mean, everybody has run into the similar issues. So, what are you going to do? Chicken. How are you?
I'm gonna take a big pass on this one.
Oh wow! Come on, we need something. Give me one thing, dude.
I'm too mean-spirited.
Oh no, you're not. Stop it.
No.
It was pretty.
It was pretty. Okay, that's something. All right.
Yeah, I was about to pull on my belt.
Steve, are you there, Steve? All right, we're gonna skip Steve.
All right, can you hear me?
Oh, there you are.
Yeah, I don't know. All of a sudden, Zoom is freezing on me. My camera's going out. It's like, what the heck?
Well, we can still hear you, brother. So go ahead.
Okay. So I'll make it quick. Great install, 7 minutes. Milo Niggle, tap to click, worked perfectly. Didn't have to worry about settings in KDE. But then from there, see, the Falcon browser seemed to work fine. I went to YouTube, looked at a couple videos, but then I'm like, okay, I want to do a quick little video. Oh, Simple Screen Recorder is installed. Oh, Simple Screen Recorder doesn't work. And then I did like Colin was trying to put in the wrong.
You watched his video, didn't you, Steve?
Yeah, of course I did. And then today, so I'm going to spend time on it before I get on, and because Colin recommended opening up, adding the restricted repo. That wasn't working for me, and everything just like slowed down. It took a long time for the browser to open, getting any settings. Oh, and actually, when I first went to set up for Wi-Fi, normally in most distributions there's a little Wi-Fi symbol in the lower right-hand corner, not there, and I couldn't really figure out the settings and ran across what was it, command line MTUI, to get to the Wi-Fi settings. I had to set Wi-Fi there. Then later today, the Wi-Fi symbol was showing up on the panel on that. So, yeah, it wasn't doing really well for me. So.
All right. Well, thanks so much indeed, Steve, for letting us know. Pizza, are you there? And did you try Open Mandriva?
I did, but this was the last week of school for me, so I was kind of busy. But I gave it a spin last night, and let's see here. I made some bullet points for the stream. So my first impression was when I was downloading it, I got the torrent, and this torrent was the slowest torrent I've ever used. It was like 1 megabyte per second, and then when I went to download it through SourceForge, it was 30 megabytes per second. So I guess not many people were seeding it, so that probably was the issue. Anyways, I tried installing it on a second hard drive on my main system, and it is an NVIDIA system, and I couldn't get it running, and I can't afford to go to Team Red. So somebody said it installed super fast. However, in my virtual machine, it took like around 20 minutes for me to get it installed. Not sure why. I didn't really enjoy the Plasma setup. I wish it had an icon-only task manager, and the panel was just way too wide for my likings. The welcome screen is okay in my opinion. It's a little bit too complicated for a welcome screen. Welcome screens are supposed to be simple in my opinion. However, I did like the control center a lot. The icons in Dolphin were really big, and the startup sounds good. And many people might disagree with me, but the only wallpaper that I liked that came with Mandriva is the default one, and I didn't like any other ones. Overall, the control center is very crisp, but the rest of the distro isn't very good in my opinion.
All right. Well, thanks very much indeed for letting us know. So, Big Pod, what has your chair got to say this week?
My chair, probably nothing smart. Like me.
Go on. So, did you try Mandriva, my friend?
No, I didn't. I saw a couple of messages that this has problems installing, so I just said next.
Good man.
He said next before he even tried it.
You saved yourself a lot of headache. Good man.
Oh, I have an NVIDIA card, so
yeah. No, even your cleverness, I'd be surprised if you could get it working, my friend. All right. Well, thanks for that. Jackie, are you there? And did you try Open Mandriva?
Okay.
Last call for Jackie.
Gargamel, are you dead? Round 2.
No. All right. Well, we'll move on to Dalton. Hi and welcome. And did you try it?
Hello and thank you. And no, sorry.
It's all good, brother. It's not a.
Or am I behind?
This is a test.
It's not a mandatory thing to try the distro. So,
all right.
But you're always welcome here.
All right. Thanks.
JJ.
Been pretty busy this week, so I didn't get a chance to test the distro.
Wow, that's the shortest comment you've ever made, JJ.
Wow. Yes.
Wow. I love it. Thomas. Did you try Open Mandriva, dude?
So I tried to.
Unfortunately, I was trying to download it from their website, and due to, I guess, geographical issues, it was doing the download at kilobytes a second, roughly 60 kilobytes a second. And I wasn't going to wait the 11-ish hours to download it. So the download does work, but it's slow as all get out, unless you're near their server. So that's my review for the week.
Awesome. I love it. Short and sweet. So look, there were a few next. There were a few people that didn't like it, a few people that were okay with it. I thought it was a pretty good implementation of KDE. I thought there were really positive things. Like I said, the welcome screen was pared down to a usable level. There are things that need to be worked on, like, installing drivers and whatnot. But I guess if you're okay using the Nuvo drivers, you're fine. But either way, that is our take on Open Mandriva. So I would like to thank the developers of the Open Mandriva project, because all too often we get to try these distros and we say, hey, next or whatever. But there is a lot of work and a lot of effort that goes into any of these distros that are put out. So for that, I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. And for all we know, one of them could be the next Canonical.
All right, Dr. Random strikes again. So there has been, more news that have come out this week for Linux that we need to talk about.
Do we have to?
Yes, it's big.
It's the same thing we talked about last week.
No, it's not. Come on. Okay, so we're not gonna rehash the 32-bit thing, dude. I mean, look, we talked about the 32-bit thing, and what did we say at the very end of that whole discussion? Was that just let it play out, and it'll all work itself out, and it's all going to work itself out, just like we said. So,
it already has.
Yeah, exactly. So
all is good in cloud Linux land again, which is good.
So before we get into that, is there anything anybody wants to bring up?
Well, just a little shot across the bow for our friends in Team Red, perhaps.
Mm-hmm. I know what you're talking about, Zeb.
I wonder who brought it to my attention. It appears that AMD have allowed the Chinese military to purloin open source stuff. Well, not so much open source stuff, but they've been in partnership that sidesteps export controls, violating the spirit of the law and leaking the Times 86 architecture to the Chinese military. So did anybody else read that?
It brings new meaning to Team Red.
I mean,
just saying.
Wait, Rocco, that's not funny.
Yeah.
Wait.
That was actually very funny.
I'm not just saying.
Where did you read that?
I will post a link to the article, but it was on the Wall Street Journal, actually.
Oh, okay.
Did you say leaking the x86 architecture? Isn't that already kind of like...
Well, what they did was they stripped out some of the encryption technology in order to get around it, but they still basically gave or cooperated with the company that is funded by the Chinese government, the Chinese military, the architecture that they needed to complete their supercomputers and whatnot. So AMD received
it's not really much of an issue, because it's not like they're leaking user data out or anything. It's purely just here's some component stuff that you can use.
Well, they obviously skirted the law here. And they received $293 billion for this skirt of the law.
I'll skirt for $5. I don't know what.
So, what I'm saying is this came at a time when AMD was struggling financially, and they needed this stuff. So,
well, I mean, right now I'm looking at the AMD China, searching through Google News right now, and they're currently denying the story at this moment.
Well, do you expect anything less, JJ? I mean, do you expect them to say, "Yep, we did it"?
I was going to say, but honestly, how many companies do this with relations to, say, the U.S. or the UK or X, Y, or Z? I mean, you can talk about whether or not AMD is based in the States and all the other stuff. It's no different. It's business.
But
But
Dark
there's
One,
laws. I mean, there is laws involved here. So
these are U.S. laws, though, right? Like,
yeah.
Well, yes, but if they're in the U.S. operating in the U.S., then they need to follow the laws in the U.S.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if they're in China, operating in China, which they
But what
also
I'm saying is the big portion of their money is based in the U.S. So
AMD
if you're
is
going to
incorporated
operate
in the US.
in that realm, then you need to follow the laws in that realm. Just like if I started a business in England, I would need to follow the laws in England, even though they might not be the same laws here. I mean, they're probably ridiculous if they're in England, but
Well, you mean the EU, technically speaking, but
I was going to say, I don't know. I find that complaint disingenuous when we have other U.S. based companies that work just as closely with the U.S. government that do other shady stuff that are technically legal, but are questionable on a moral or even very legal. So,
what exactly are you?
Microsoft.
No. I mean,
all the telecom carrier. Take your pick.
I'm not talking about specific companies. I'm talking about what is it that you're saying that they're doing or okay with doing, because I'm not exactly following what you're saying, Matt.
I'm saying Google and Microsoft building AI and machine learning things for drones that just go and kill people in other countries.
Yes, basically, that's more or less what I'm saying. Like I find it. It's almost like two standards. You have, you can't do this because you're in the U.S., but you work with this Chinese company. But the U.S. companies that work with, or whatever, vice versa, it's not the same.
well, they have enough money to influence too. Technically speaking, they're pretty large companies at that. Google not being afraid of having their Dragonfly technology in China, yet still providing a significant amount of services in the Western world.
Yeah. And we get concerned about companies, providing things for Chinese government for surveillance and things like that, whereas we have companies in the U.S. who build solutions for the U.S. government to surveillance on their own people. I don't know. It just seems like we're just fighting fighting against an enemy that really isn't that big of an issue for as much as their own home country could be.
Yeah, I guess that's really my.
Yeah, but
Reading
none
through
of
the
these other
article-
companies will get a reaction out of Das Geek like this one will.
Right. Exactly.
Okay. Well, touche. I will give you that one.
So I read through this article a little bit, and it doesn't look like they were. I mean, it's not like they were licensing some older chips, basically some lower performing chips, and it doesn't. I mean, it seems like a nothing burger to me. Not to quote anybody. I shouldn't have done that. It doesn't seem like a big deal to me. I mean, like reading through it, and I need to read through it a little more depth. But it looks like this had happened a while ago. It's not like they just did this, and so now that
definitely not
blacklisted has happened, it's now that the blacklisted has happened. Now it's becoming basically, yeah.
And
so
yeah,
I don't know.
They did this in 2017.
Well, this is how investigations work. You don't find out yesterday when somebody did something. You have to wait until investigations are done and facts
Kevin,
are found out.
2017 is way different than 2019 relations with China at this moment. So
yeah, it's only a big deal because of the things that are going on right now.
Exactly.
Or not going on because he's made his point and he's allowed them back in.
Yeah.
U-turn.
Hey, did somebody let Simon Quigley in?
Yeah,
I did. Yeah,
you did.
Oh,
why?
Yeah, I was wondering about that.
I'm running on Michael time this week. I'm sorry.
I noticed. Well, Michael was here and he left, so that's good.
I was gonna say, Simon, did you fix Pulse yet?
I still got to get this SSD to Simon.
Hey, can I mention that the Pulse Audio problem, the static problem, also happens in Open Mandriva? Just saying. Throw it out there.
I can't say I've tried it this week. I didn't try Open Mandriva.
How dare you?
I'm telling you, this week I'm running on Michael time. I'll try it next week, or like a week after that, maybe.
All right. So, did anybody catch the issues with. Does anybody have anything else they want to add to the whole AMD thing?
Go Team Red.
Wow. Nobody cares. Nobody
I
cares.
was
Yay,
gonna go in a different
Ryzen. What were you going to say, Vash?
I was going to go in a different direction, but if you're moving on, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well,
Go,
what
go.
about the Raspberry Pi 4? I'll be interested to see how some of the videos are starting to come out, and I'm going to be interested to see how things like Ubuntu Mate and Mate, rather, and things like that run on it once we, get a bit more stable with the drivers and whatnot.
What's great about it too is that if you ever, you're stuck in a cold winter, you just fire that thing up and.
I've heard that too.
I was going to say, Zeb, didn't you order one?
Yeah, I've got one here, and it's thankfully not powered on, so I am able to pick it up. It gets ridiculously hot, and I mean stupid, burn your skin off your fingers hot when you power it up. Now, that's the little baby there, yeah? Now, I was simply trying to hold this section while putting in one of the USB ports, and I literally had to drop it. It was that
wow.
So if you're buying these for one of your kids to play with and learn, get a box.
And,
they will do themselves some serious damage.
Now, is that a design flaw in 4 and that didn't happen in the previous versions or what?
Not that I noticed. I mean, I could hold the previous version. It seemed to be quite easy. Obviously, you couldn't just stick your hands on top of the processor because, of course, that's going to be really, really hot. But no, it is I think somebody posted a picture on the interweb of a heat picture of the Pi 3 and a heat picture of the Pi 4, and it was probably 60 to 70% redder in all areas.
Wow.
It kind of makes sense given that it's so much more powerful. It's doing a lot more than the old one. So
I'm excited for the fact that the Pi 4 actually has proper gigabit Ethernet and wireless AC. That'll actually make it useful for certain applications.
Yeah, it's definitely a really good chip, and it's great because it can do a lot more. I don't know if they increased the power draw. I'm assuming they did.
Apparently they did, and apparently they replaced the connector from micro USB to USB-C.
That's probably
And
why
that's
it
what I was
gets
gonna
hot.
say.
It's just because it's all just thermal dissipation from taking in more power.
Yeah. So does this mean we need to make a community of people making Raspberry Pi heatsinks?
They're already out there.
So who plans on ordering a Pi 4 anyway?
I have one. It's going to be a little bit before it's here.
I was going to say, Zeb, which one did you get? The 2 or 4 gig?
The 4 meg or the 4 gig.
Meg or 4.
and it is shockingly good on a 4K screen. I mean, it's probably as quick as my i5 laptop behind me running Raspbian or whatever it is that it runs.
Wow.
You should it's like one port 60 hertz, or if you use both ports, it's 30 hertz.
So let me ask you guys, and we can take it one at a time, but I've never been into Raspberry Pis. So what do you guys use it for? What application do you use it for? Or what application are you going to use a 4 for? And why are you ordering it?
I am looking at getting a Pi 4 because it has wireless AC and because it has full gigabit Ethernet. I plan on buying one and setting it up to basically act as a wireless station to replace the router turned switch that I've been using for my mom's PC downstairs. So I could just basically set that up, configure the networking, and it would just receive the wireless signal and pass it on over Ethernet to her computer.
All right. Anybody else?
I used it as a. I used it as like a. Sorry.
Go ahead, Pizza. Go ahead, Pizza.
I used it.
Stand by, Thomas. Stand by, brother.
I used it as a compact retro gaming setup. So I used a 3. That is. After hearing about the Raspberry Pi 4, I'm glad that I'm poor and didn't pre-order it. But I used the 3 as a retro gaming setup that fit behind my TV. So that way, nothing's sticking out. It's just behind the TV and you can't see it and you don't notice it's there until you want to use it, obviously.
Cool.
Thomas?
Speaking of
Thomas, what were you saying?
Sorry, I must be experiencing some lag here.
You are.
I would like to get a couple. One, apparently, I would like to get one in order to make a smart mirror. I'd like to get another one in order to convert my car into a smart car. That way I can like go on my phone and start it remotely or set the temperature or whatever. I think the smart mirror is probably a little bit more practical. But I'd like to get a couple for that.
So
unfortunately, I'm not experienced with Raspberry Pi.
So when are we going to see Draugr OS on the Pi 4?
Ooh.
Wait, does it
You're not.
Right?
No. You are not going to see Draugr OS on any other architecture except for AMD 64 from me, because I do not have the time or the resources to support it on any other CPU architecture. Now, if somebody else wants to make a branch of it or a flavor of it or whatever that is on another CPU architecture, by all means, I suggest they contact me first, though. That way I can get them like in the know about changes that are coming down the pipeline. But you will not see it from me, not until I get the resources of the manpower.
Speaking of gaming, though, a lot of the retro game people are excited for the higher spec stuff on the new Pi, because it's probably going to break through the barrier of actually playing PS1 games and Nintendo 64 games.
Wait, somebody said that it could run. It was just as fast as a i5.
It appears to be when it's starting up Raspberry, and yeah.
I wonder if I could get Dolphin running on a Raspberry Pi 4 and run GameCube/Wii games.
Well, when it comes to Wii, particularly with the graphic stuff, it's going to be very, very problematic.
Probably we'll have to wait for Pi 10 for that.
Yeah, even on like a really well-powered x86 CPU, it's not a fun experience at all.
Yeah, but at least Nintendo 64 and PS1 have a possibility of getting emulated there.
Yeah, they're a lot closer to that.
Vash?
I personally have one for a Pi-hole to block out network, just block out ads on my network. So when an IP is hitting a specific ad server, it's just going to the Pi-hole and spitting back nothing. So pages will look different and all that kind of stuff. I have to mess with it a little bit further because I had to reset it because I had an SD card go bad. But
so how does that work, Vash? I mean, is that something that you end up blocking inadvertently, websites that you need, or is that not a problem?
It can, but there is a really easy, like you have an admin portal and all this stuff for it as well. But basically, the idea is you're setting your router to the IP address of that particular Pi, and then you're setting an alternate DNS on the Pi itself. So like when you're setting it up, it'll ask you, do you want to use a custom DNS, or do you want to use Cloudflare? Do you want to use Google or whatever? So what it then does is when you have a blacklist of domains, and you can pull up lists on the internet and all that stuff if you really want more. I think I had close to like 1 million domains blocked before my SD card went bad. But ultimately the way it works is it goes out, and if it's on that blacklist, then instead of going to Cloudflare or wherever you set it, it'll go into your Pi, and your Pi will spit back nothing. So you do have to if you find a website where you're not able to access it or something like that, you do have to go into the admin tool really quick. I just pull it up on my phone and look at look what's being blocked in the query list and just whitelist it. But it's usually a pretty quick change on something like that. It's not a big deal.
Is it very intensive on the processor, the Pi-hole?
I mean, I don't think so, man. I had it on for forever. What gave out was the SD card. I'm still using the same Pi.
What version of the Pi are you using?
It's a 3 or 3B. I'm not sure if it's a B or a 3B or 3B plus rather. I'm not sure if it's.
Yeah, I'm just like curious. Could you use a Pi 0 for that?
Does it have an Ethernet jack?
It has most of the I/O removed, but
I don't think it does. You'd probably want an Ethernet jack though, just for faster transfer speeds.
If you want to find out some information about that, though, JJ, Sudo Reboot does some pretty good YouTube stuff on the Raspberry Pi, and he's got about 4 or 5 of them scattered around his house doing all sorts of weird and wonderful things. And he's very, very big on the Pi hole. So go and check him out and see what you can find.
I've also watched a few episodes of Know How when it was still on the interwebs when they were talking about Pi projects and stuff like that. So it's not a new animal for me.
Cool. All right, Simon, did you say you were getting one?
Yeah, excuse me. My plan is to get one at least for testing of Ubuntu on it, obviously. I don't really know if I'm going to use it for anything in particular. I mean, I have a Pi 3. I just don't have a use for it at the moment. I mean, I'm down to just using one machine at the moment. But, yeah, I don't know if I'll have a use for it as much as just testing it.
Well, see, that's the area that I find myself in. Like, I think they're cool, but I don't really have a use case, and that's why I'm asking, like, what are your guys' experiences? What do you use it for? Because I don't seem to have a use case for it now.
Right, because I think there's a difference between buying one for a specific use case and using it for that, and just buying one for the sake of having one, right? I could totally see it if you wanted to build like a Pi hole or something like that, just buying one and using it for that. Like, I could totally see that. But if you don't have the use for something like that, then I'm with you on that one. I don't really see, unless you're an enthusiast, unless you just like playing around with it, then I don't see anything wrong with it. But like I said, my only use for it is going to be testing it so that other people can use it and do cool things with it.
Rocco, you're not alone, because I think that they're really fascinating, and I would love to get one, but I wouldn't know what to do with it.
It might be good. It might be good.
And I think they're really cool, and I think you could have a lot of fun with them. But having a use case makes more for me. It would make more sense.
It could be.
I can't come up with anything.
All right, Dalton, did you say you were getting one?
I did.
And what are you going to use it for?
Well, see, I'm kind of in the same boat as Simon, because Ubuntu Touch developer here.
Right.
The Pi 3 is looking super powerful, at least compared to its predecessors. And it sounds like they're using the Mesa driver now. So no more proprietary graphics to get around. That could be super interesting for all of us ARM native distros.
Pi 4 base tablet.
That might be a little weird.
So do you have a use case that you would use it for, or what?
I would use it for testing Ubuntu Touch or helping the community get started with actually porting it over. Because we've got, this guy, the Pine 64 phones that are going right now. Work should go into that as well. And one would enable the other a little more. So I'm super excited about it for that. But they're all out of stock around here.
Can I ask a question to kind of divert this? How is Ubuntu Touch on the Pine 64 stuff right now?
Right now, we're still in the middle of getting Ubuntu Touch using Mir 1.x, which has support for all these newfangled graphics drivers that our super old and crusty version of Mir didn't have. So that completely blocks anything on the Pine 64 for now. But, of course, work is still going into it. Unity 8 runs, just not in the same way that it does on the regular phone stack, so that won't do for release.
All right, anybody else want to chime in? Chicken?
So it's going to be useful for doing like whole home audio and lighting routing. So it's essentially going to collect data from about 28 different microphones and Bluetooth chips, and kind of use that to control, like, understanding where someone is in the house. So when a request is asked, it knows where that question is being asked and where to put the audio. And it should be able to follow you. Like, if I asked it to play music or tell me about something, the audio should follow me through different speaker zones throughout the house.
So is this done with Mycroft or?
No, this will probably just, right now, it's just going to be me doing it through like other existing devices like Amazon Alexa and stuff. But I hope to have a better system in place. If I'm going to, I probably wouldn't use Mycroft because as funny as it is, it's just funny, not useful for me. But it's probably going to have to require a little more processing power than that if I want to implement like my own solution based on like Mozilla's deep or what kind of voice, open voice, Fire Voice, whatever. If I want to use something like that to plug it into different assistants and stuff, it'd probably need a little more than a Pi, but
Well, so you're not worried about any privacy concerns or anything, that everything knows where you're walking at any moment of time or anything?
absolutely not. I'm a firm believer in hugging my local NSA.
I mean, that sounds cool. I mean, the idea of it is cool, so that, you know, like, hey, I could, like the example you used, if I want to ask a question and want to get some information about something, you know, the audio would allow it for you to hear it whatever room you're in. I just don't know if I want it that much.
I was gonna say, Chicken, are you talking basically like having your own Sonos, but like movable as you kind of travel throughout your house and that kind of stuff?
Have you guys ever seen that Netflix movie called Tao?
No.
There's like this guy's, his house essentially is set up with this. He can ask a question anywhere and get an answer from anywhere based on his own little thing set up.
I gotcha.
So like Jarvis.
But
Doesn't
right
the house
now,
rise up and try to kill him at the end?
I think they do die, yeah, but
But I mean, who cares about the
Doesn't come
ending,
back
right?
next week?
Oh my
Way
god.
too creepy.
I don't really have any ability to like implement my own kind of internal solution because it's not like I have like Google in my backyard that can give me this kind of cool supercomputer to handle that. So I gotta plug into other things like Alexa and.
Have you checked like what is Apple's thing? ARKit or
I think it's just called HomeKit
HomeKit
or
or
something.
whatever it is.
Yeah. Siri, I think, is the thing, and
Yeah, but didn't they stop HomeKit for a while?
pretty sure because
Yeah, I don't think it's available right at the
Yeah,
moment.
it
They
was
had
kinda
some like major problems with it. I don't know what the problems were. I think they stopped
So when I was at Texas Linux Fest, I attended Alex's, or he's also known as Ironic Badger, his talk on home automation. And the best advice he gave is, if you're doing things right, the best app is no app. And that means that you can take whatever you implement and replace whatever voice assistant you have with something else, and it won't make a difference.
Right. And in theory, if the voice assistant doesn't completely suck, it should work. But I mean, if you plug in Cortana, obviously you're not going to be very happy.
Or be able to.
Cortana is better than Siri.
Nate, go ahead.
Yeah, so I've actually implemented a Raspberry Pi at my church for like announcement slideshow thing. And so it's just a simple, all it does is the office lady just dumps some pictures on there. It does what it does, and it's kind of just an appliance that sits someplace on the network and nobody messes with it. And then what I do actually have a project that I'm scoping right now, and that's using, I wouldn't use the Pi 4 for this, but there's a really neat thing I heard about on Destination Linux about a
Really?
Yes, about using a Raspberry Pi, this Enviro Raspberry Pi accessory to actually monitor air quality, humidity, pressure, and everything else like that. So kind of a single-use appliance for Raspberry Pi I can see, but not for general computing. Just, actually like purposes, like specific purposes, like it's going to do a function. It's going to enhance my life this way, this how,
Right.
That's how I see it.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody
Cool.
else want to do something with Raspberry Pi?
There's a question from Mark Greaves about would it work with Steam Link?
Oh, I heard there was a project with regards to that.
I would think so. You can supposedly do that now with Pi 3, so you would only enhance your performance there, I think, going up to the 4, so, and gives you the ability to go 4K and whatnot. So I've actually got a Pi 0 and it's running RetroPie, so I would be interested to check out the new 4 and see if it runs a little better and you play some more games.
I have bad news for you guys about the Pi, though.
What?
Development of Minecraft for the Raspberry Pi was discontinued in.
That's
quite a
terrible.
while ago.
That's terrible.
End of the world.
I no longer have my pie because my brother thought it was a piece of pie and then ate it.
Personally, I'm really excited to see like a higher spec pie because you can cluster them and you can build like ARM builds of different Linux stuff a lot faster, and I think that's really gonna accelerate sort of the ARM software, like the accessibility of ARM software on Linux.
Oh yeah.
I was gonna say, I've always seen the Raspberry Pi stuff as like it's meant as an appliance. You know, you can talk about it's meant for learning and all the other stuff. It's a DIY, like make an appliance computer.
Well, Chris said in chat that he has a friend who might be using a Pi as an always-on VPN.
Nice.
That to me is something that could be a use case that I would personally use. So then maybe you wouldn't have to run a VPN on your computer. It would just be running on the Pi. So that would be a great thing.
That's what it's for. It's like IoT stuff. Like you pick a Pi to do a single task, and that's when it's most powerful. You don't try to do everything you do on a Pi. And
well, I get it. I mean, I get it that that's the use case. I just, besides having a VPN on it or something to that effect, I don't know what I'd use it for.
I was going to say, like in my case, like I've looked at Raspberry Pis in the past, and I've thought about using them as more of like a HTPC. You know, they're small little boxes that you control everything, every aspect on. And to me, that, like with Zeb, how are they at 4K?
They're excellent. They're really, really good.
Because that's something that intrigues me. It's like 4K, you know, you have a small little box, you know, however credit card size box, like, and it's not tied to Amazon or Google or take your pick of whatever home entertainment company.
Big Pod.
One of my friends uses Raspberry Pi, an older one, just to see when the lawnmower basket is full. Basically, he gets an alert on his phone when it's full because he has a huge lawn to every 2 weeks, and he has one of those riding mower that has huge baskets, and he doesn't want to look every 20 minutes inside. He just gets an alert on his phone.
Wow. So he's put some sort of little sensor, or has he got an actual? How can you have a Pi in a lawnmower, or is it just a sensor?
In the basket, he put he put it on the top of the basket, and then he added, I believe, he cut a small hole in the plastic part, then a light sensor. So when it gets covered, he gets an alert.
So how does he power it? What does he power it with? The lawnmower?
Battery pack.
Ah, right.
And he takes it out when he's not mowing and uses it for other stuff.
Anybody else have anything for the Pi?
Thomas, you mentioned putting it in your car. The thing is if you don't have a seat warmer, that's the perfect place to hide it.
I actually do. That's the issue. My entire thought for it was, so those of you who have used smart cars, and maybe some of you who haven't, are probably aware that you can take a smart car from your smartphone, start it up, or set your thermostat in your car to a specific temperature, or turn on your heated seats or something like that. My car wouldn't be able to control the heated seats. However, I could set the thermostat for the rest of the car, or I could change the station. I might be able to crank it because it is push start. So it would take probably a lot of assembly code and hacking into the car's BIOS or whatever, but I'm sure it's possible somehow. I'm just not sure how much I want to actually do to get all that functionality. And I'm not making an app for it. I would just get a Raspberry Pi Zero or something similar and just have the two communicate with each other.
If you do that, will you be able to drive to Self next year?
Actually, I will have a higher chance of going to Self next year.
Awesome.
But I'm not guaranteeing.
Thomas, it's actually the car stuff is all pretty well documented. It's the CAN bus system. It's a standard actually. So all cars kind of operate on this CAN bus, where all devices are networked on this. So you can actually, it's all very well documented. You just got to find out how that car specifically talks on the CAN bus,
Right.
and then you're good to go.
So
this sounds very interesting. Okay, then. Thank you.
So another use case I thought of that was showcased at Southeast Linux Fest that I do want to play with at some point is they were using a Raspberry Pi for ham radio communications at one of the booths at Southeast Linux Fest.
Yeah, there's a couple different projects that use radio and convert it to voice over IP, so you can link up, over the internet, which is really cool.
Right, or I think there's even certain applications that can convert text over to CW for you to send that over the air.
Yep, there's a couple different things. It's really cool.
All right,
we still have to pick a distro, Rocco.
Oh, geez, we do.
Oh,
I forgot about that.
And seeing how we're talking about Pi.
Oh my gosh! Here we go.
How about we could try out Ubuntu. It's fresh and new. It's a very lightweight version of a fork of Ubuntu, and it's very lightweight, and it has like a older Windows look to it.
Didn't we just do Ubuntu a while ago?
Ubuntu.
Yeah, I know.
Oh wait.
Oh wait,
Wait a
you did
second.
do it?
2 months ago.
Okay.
I mean, we could do Ubuntu again. I mean, that'd be cool.
Of course you would say that, Simon.
Well, no, because Rocco's been encouraging us to look at other distros besides Debian and Ubuntu-based distros.
Yes, we need to look at all the distros.
There is
if
one.
you want to look at other camps, we could do Slackware.
Well,
we have to do seriously though. We have to do a Slackware at some point.
The reason I say let's do Slackware is because I think I read somewhere that it can run APK. I may be wrong about this. Yeah, I may be wrong about this, but I think I read somewhere that it can run APKs.
What's that?
APK is the install file for Android. It's basically Android's equivalent of a deb.
I
may be
actually
wrong.
think, hold on, I think that's something else. I remember there's another package format that's APK that's not Android, but it's a normal
Alpine.
Is that Alpine?
Yeah,
that's
Alpine. So it might be
but
Alpine.
APK is the package manager for
But what I was going to suggest, Rocco, is there's one called PySci.
And what is that?
Maybe we could try out.
It's an independent distro. It's KDE based. It had a release about about a week ago. Yeah, last release was the 21st.
Any other suggestions?
always,
Not all at once, please.
So we could always do Arch, as we discussed at the airport.
Arch is a definite proposition that we could do.
We should try that Regolith, Ubuntu-based i3 distro.
Regolith is an option.
Clear Linux.
We should try out Project Trident. It's a rolling release OS based on True OS.
It's BSD. Trust me, you don't want to.
I mean, so clearly we should try Project Trident because Ubuntu will switch to Lumina at some point, right?
Ooh. I've never tried Lumina. Is it good?
Well, Lumina is I'm even going to go as far as to say an LXQt-like desktop, but it's all BSD license. And the reason why they won't use LXQt on the Trident desktop is because it's GPL license. So it's just rewriting a lot of the stuff. It has a cool amount of features, just cool little things here and there, but it does remind me a lot of LXQt. But yeah, it is a BSD distro, so I don't know if we want to go with that, but it's definitely something to consider.
It's just some ongoing trolling JT and I do to Simon every now and then.
Right. They want me to switch from LXQt to Trident, and sometimes I think, depends.
Yeah, I'm sure it depends. Yeah.
When was the last time we tried Magia?
No, not that long
We
ago.
did that fairly recently.
In February.
Yeah.
I
we
mean,
did.
I remember doing it this year, not last year.
All right, so we have a Slackware, we have Arch, and we have what was the other one?
Regolith. What about
Regolith?
Arch Linux from the
Arco.
What about Farron OS?
let's do Farron.
Yeah, we just done that.
Yep, we did just do that.
I've already downloaded. I've already
I'm
downloaded
still
Regolith, just so you know.
Regolith, you can also just install the
Scripts on Ubuntu.
Yeah, you don't have to install the whole operating system.
No, but
Just
yeah,
get
you're
the
right,
theme,
Bob.
basically, or just get
That's
to
good.
the window manager.
Yep.
Would you guys mind an Ubuntu based flavor? I mean,
We
Which
did
one?
Ubuntu to death
Which one?
in May.
Makula Linux.
We did Makula
We did that
Linux.
one.
We actually had
Yeah.
Jock on the show
I
when we
hate
tried it.
That was back in February, and
Mhm.
yeah, we had Jacques on the show.
Yeah,
We just did it.
early February.
All right, so here's our choices: Regolith, Arch, or Slackware.
Regolith.
By the way,
Do we really want to do another Ubuntu base? That's my question.
Well, this is a twist, though. i3 is not exactly simple for people to use.
Well, you could say that about Enlightenment, Fluxbox, take your pick.
Well, no, but I mean, at least those have a desktop and whatnot. So
Yeah, they're not tiling.
yeah, they're not tiling window managers. So this is not exactly just trying an Ubuntu flavor. So
What do you Regolith? I'm down.
What do you guys think?
You know, Arch is overrated. I'm up for Regolith.
Wow.
I think Arch should be good for me.
I vote Arch.
Regolith they did on Choose Linux.
Yes.
Installing Regolith right now.
So then, if they just did it, why not? We'll just do the Arch route then. Let's just get it out of the way so people can stop yammering.
Bugging us and saying we're not doing anything but Ubuntu based.
All right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
let's just do Arch and get it done with, because it's going to be painful for some people. But look, this is the thing:
Right.
if you don't want to do it, then don't do it. It's perfectly fine. I mean, there were how many people here tonight that didn't do Open Mandriva, and there's no problem with that. So I guess if you want to participate in the Arch, go ahead. And if you don't want to participate, then don't. And nobody's going to feel slighted in any way.
And is this Arch the Archway, or can you use a command line installer like ALI or something?
I'm going to say Archway.
I'm going to say Archway too.
If you can't do it, or you have a really good reason not to, then fine.
I see you in a
Are
fortnight.
you allowed to use your own script that you made a while back, that you made yourself?
Chris Titus was talking about a script.
Depends whether or not it's the Archway.
Yeah. Well, let's put it this way. I am not opposed to somebody using an Arch script installer, but I'm going to do it the Arch way. And we'll see what happens.
Install real vanilla Arch, however you want to install it.
Yeah,
I made my own script a while back called Pizza OS, and it was basically my Arch installer that I could use whenever I needed it.
I guess to me it would be if you end up with a vanilla Arch system at the end. To me, that's fine.
Let me make a suggestion.
So that means architect or any other way to get there doesn't matter.
As long as it's vanilla Arch at the end.
Well, that's what I mean.
So let me make the suggestion that if you are having any questions or problems with Arch, check out Arco Linux D, I believe.
D.
So you can grab the scripts off of GitHub, and basically all the scripts are, if you read them, they're plain text scripts. You can see exactly what Eric's doing and how he's doing it. And it will help you if you're trying to figure out, well, okay, how does he get drivers installed or a custom theme or something like that? They're just bash scripts, and it's really easy to follow. So if the Arch Wiki, or if you're having problems doing that, the other thing is, if you start with just the install of D, it is just a base. There's nothing there except base Arch and some drivers, your networking, things like that. So it's a pretty low barrier to entry there if you're having problems, because the first part of installing it really is the hardest part. Once you get past the base system, there's nothing difficult about saying pacman-s whatever package you want. It's getting the networking working, it's getting your video driver working, it's getting that kind of stuff. So that might be a really good sort of help you over that barrier. Let's say you try it the Arch way, it's just not working. Grab Arco Linux D, throw that on and then start from that point. You'll still get a lot of the background behind it. You'll still understand it, especially if you read those scripts.
Well, Carl Schneider brought up a good point that Spooky Kid still maintains the Zen installer that Jody James created. Jody James was the creator of Revenge OS. He no longer maintains that, but the Zen installer is still maintained if you're having trouble. And again, well, Eric, you said it would be easy for this and easy for that. I guess it depends on your user capability. It's not going to be easy for new users. It's not going to be easy for some people, regardless of how easy it seems to us, because I think sometimes we kind of get so used to seeing things like that that we're okay with seeing bash scripts and everything else. But most people are not going to open a bash script and look at it and recognize anything in it. So I guess your mileage may vary on that.
And what desktop environment, or does it not matter?
It does not matter. Does not matter. Whatever. Let's put it this way: if you can get a desktop environment installed on Arch, that would be good.
The issue of us doing Arch though is everyone's going to have a different experience because everyone's going to have different applications pre-installed, different setups.
I mean, I'm the
But that's
minimal-
okay. What the idea is
Yeah.
not to try out desktop environments. The idea is to try out Arch.
Yeah.
So if they have a different experience, Pizza, that's great because
That happens
they can.
anyway.
Yeah, they can talk about
Yeah,
their
they
different experience.
I was going to say that's the nice thing about this because it allows for a variety of feedback.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mm.
So, like I said,
Validating.
no pressure to try it. If you want to, you can participate. If you don't want to, don't worry about it. We'll still have a show next week, and we'll still talk about Arch, and we'll still talk about other Linux stuff. So, there you go.
I'm actually a little bit happy that we're doing Arch deep down because I've been missing Arch since I've moved on to Zorin, and I want to get Arch running again.
All right. Before we go, I know we're getting late on time, but Eric, can you give us an update on the Biddle website and what's going on?
Yeah, we're just discussing some additional features and content and things. Just trying to pitch in. Rocco's doing a lot with producing the show, editing the show. He's got the audio component now. He's presumably works. I mean,
let's hope.
all of these things. So I'm really just trying to fill in some of the gaps with throwing some content in, adding and maintaining some pages for the current site, and then I also want to rework the layout and things like that. That the system he's got in place is a little less than ideal, and it's something that I do regularly, so it's easy for me to recommend some better tool sets and things like that. So, look for changes coming in the next month or two, probably. And
now, did you get a chance to switch everything, or not switch everything, but do some testing of the site on UpCloud?
Yeah, I did. And I mean, just so really unscientific testing, the current page editing tool that Rocco's using on the current site on Namecheap hosting, it takes about 20 seconds to load a page in edit mode. And so it's a little slow. And even then, like, you click a box and it's like, there's definite hesitation. And on UpCloud, it takes about 7 to 8 seconds to load. So pretty significant. And then while you're in that editor, everything is like super snappy and quick. So you can just tell the back end, it's able to scan the database faster. The files are being delivered faster. So it's just better hosting. I haven't done any kind of tweaking with caching or anything like that. It's just got more horsepower. It's better put together, I think, than a commodity host. So.
Eric, did you know that UpCloud supports the show?
No, really?
Yes, they are a sponsor of the show. Can you imagine that?
Wait a minute. So, do I get any kind of special benefit for watching the show and knowing about that?
Well, see, look, I am so glad that you asked, because if you go and sign up for an account and use the Big Daddy Linux promo code, you get $25 worth of credit and an extended 7-day free trial.
UpCloud?
UpCloud.com.
What's UpCloud?
Man, everybody knows I need that credit.
Yeah, so go get the credit.
It's worth it.
Take advantage of it. So, all right. I think that will wrap it up for us tonight. I appreciate everybody being here. but everybody gets the last word. So, PZ.
As always, Rocco, thanks for putting this show on. It really is a joy to come here every Sunday morning and sit with you guys and just chat nonsense about Linux. It's absolutely marvelous. And then I get to wake up tomorrow and do the next episode of Destination Linux. So keep an eye out on that. We've got some good stuff for you this week, and I hope everybody enjoys it.
It's like a double whammy. All right, Dan, last word, brother.
All right, thanks as always, Rocco. And yeah, looking forward to giving Arch a go. Should be good. And want to, it'll be great. It'll be great.
It'll be okay, Zeb.
If somebody needs help, just reach out in the Telegram group, and somebody will be there to help lift you up there. So, also, I want to give a plug for the Big Daddy Linux Live IRC channel on Freenode Network. If you need help, you can reach out there too.
Yep. Eric.
I don't have anything witty or sarcastic to say tonight. I'm sorry. I used it all up in at the top of the show.
It's all good. Joshua, last word.
Hey guys, Winston just in the works, but besides that, Open Mandriva, yeah, it's nice. I think I'm actually going to continue playing with it. As a matter of fact, kind of a little interesting. And Arch is going to be a nightmare. I'm working on it right now, and I am so far dreading. It is so optimal. I think that they were just too lazy to put in a GUI, but you know what? Forget it.
No.
Have a good night.
Wait, Josh, I can provide you with my install script if you want.
There you go.
No
Bash,
cheating.
last word.
No cheating.
Send it to me by Telegram. Good night.
Good night.
Thanks for the stream. And if you were actually going to try to install Arch via command line, use cfdisk and not fdisk.
Oops, too.
Say that again, because I got to write that down. Use what?
Use cfdisk. I personally find it a lot easier to use than fdisk.
Well, actually, I already formatted something using fdisk.
Well, I mean, if it worked, that's fine. I just think it's easier to use cfdisk.
All right, Nate, last word, brother.
Hey, thanks again for having the show. Thanks again for having me. And it's always a good time. I appreciate it. And I look forward to Arch. Thank you so much.
Aris, last word, brother.
Thank you so much for the stream. I'm looking forward to Arch. This will be the first time I'll install Arch on Metal. I did install Arch on VM a couple of weeks ago with the minimal plasma. And I'm going to put in the link in the YouTube chat. There's a playlist of how to install Arch made by learnlinux.tv. You can check it out if you want. And that's it.
Eric, last word.
Thanks for the stream. Good to see everybody. Happy to see about Arch next week. I've used it quite a lot in the past, and it's really not that bad. Please, if you're having issues, just reach out in the group this week, and myself and others, I'm sure, will be happy to help. And after next week, we can all say, by the way. Have a great week, everyone.
Tony.
Thanks again, Rocco, for doing this. I look forward to this every weekend. Arch. I might be on the Telegram group a lot more than normal, asking for help, because I won't have a clue what I'm doing. But I'll see how I get on with it.
Well, like I said, if you want to, you do it. If you don't worry about it.
Fair enough.
But we will be there if you need help.
Oh, I'll definitely need help.
Adam, last word.
Thanks for having the show. It was a good time, I guess. It's pretty awesome. You guys have a good night.
Kevin.
I'm glad that you're making me go back to my roots, Rocco. I'm excited to try Arch again. Last time I used it was about 2 years ago, and I used it for 3 years. So it'll be nice to go back and give it a try again.
I am so tempted to put it on the main machine. I know I got Pop! OS on there, and I don't change it because I don't want any issues with the stream and everything, but I had run the Arch Plasma for a few months without any issues. So
I'll say the thing that I'm most excited about is I'm most excited to see who loves it and who hates it, because I think that some of the people that you expect to hate Arch are actually going to love it a lot.
So one quick correction. Chris Titus in chat said to use CF disk if you're using DOS, and to use CG disk if you're using GPT. Good to know.
Nice, very nice. Colin, I don't know if they have lib264 on Arch, but are you going to try it?
Well, I don't use Arch, by the way. But I will be giving it a go. I've tried to install Arch before a long time ago, a couple of times, but I was always doing it with wireless. And I think I've actually successfully installed it, but couldn't get wireless working after. So I think the install's mainly just getting your disks right and whatever, and then installing a desktop. But then after that, I think it gets very complicated. So we'll see how we go. And thanks for the show, Rocco. Always glad to be here every week. It's great.
Barb?
Okay, first of all, thank you, Rocco, which I think I always thank you every week because this is fun. Arch, yeah, I think it's going to bring back really stressful memories. Not just when we did Antergos, but just the whole concept. It just goes back to, like, I remember installing Slackware in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a feeling this is going to be like that.
It's easier than that now, Barb.
Are you sure?
I'm sure it's easier than that, at least in the 90s.
But I will look at it and then make my decision.
All right.
I'll try to be open-minded.
Matt, sir.
Arch, I guess I'll have to actually do it the proper way this time. Seeing how I use Arch-based things as my preference of choice now. Thanks, Rocco. Always enjoy the streams, but I enjoy having this community here, you know, our online log, basically. Always good to talk with, you know, Zeb and Eric and Dan and all the other guys and gals that are here. Other than that, I can probably say I did run Arch by the end of this challenge. I'll let you assume what that means.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right, Chris, are you there, sir?
He is, but he's fast asleep. Next.
All right. Tyler, last word, brother.
Thanks for the show, and I am definitely looking forward to installing Arch over the next week, by the way.
Mm-hmm. Chicken.
Well, by the way, I use Elementary OS. But, I certainly look forward to this because I'm well aware of how I feel of Arch. I'll still install it, but as Kevin mentioned, it would be interesting to see who comes out of this alive or loving Arch and maybe not liking Arch. It's good. It's going to be good.
I might not have any hair next week, Chicken, but we'll be here. All right, Pizza, last word.
Finally, I can get off of Zorin OS. Ultimate.
Big Pod, last word.
Thank you for having us. And if anyone needs help, contact me as well. I can help. And I might actually make a video about installing it. But otherwise, you can check out people like DistroTube. He has a great tutorial on how to install it and how to install a couple different desktop environments and window managers in there. So he should be a great resource.
All right, Jackie, did you get audio working yet?
Don't think he has a mic.
All right. Jackie's last word is, I don't know. JJ, last word.
First of all, BigDaddyLinux.com/Discord for those who want to do the post-show discussion. To put a positive spin on the Arch install, at least there's one thing that Arch has that Ubuntu doesn't: a minimal install.
All right, so before we go any further, Paul could not be here tonight because he is celebrating his father's birthday tonight with him. So I wanted to wish Paul's father a very happy birthday from all of us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Cheer, cheer, cheer.
All right, Thomas, last word, sir.
Well, thanks for having me on again tonight. I'm sorry I was late. I had other issues. Looking forward to trying out Arch. I've installed it myself only once successfully, doing it the Arch way. It'd be nice if I can do it again. But if you're not going to try Arch, check out DraugrOS at DraugrOS.org. And that was a good segue.
That was good, Thomas.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Simon Quigley, sir. Last word.
So thanks for hosting this. It was really great to meet some of you guys at Self. Definitely go next year. I think they have dates already good to go. Oh.
Yep, they do. And I think we lost Simon.
Uh-oh. I guess
Pulse got him.
I guess Pulse Audio won after all.
Simon, we told you to fix Pulse.
So there you go. That's a problem for you, Simon. I'm sorry.
How would I convince my parents to fly me over the South when they don't barely even know what Linux is?
Tell them I said it was okay. They'll be fine.
No, they won't.
Okay.
It works with Ryan's Rife for years on buying all sorts of kit.
It does, but
Rockham, he said I had to get it. Yeah.
I have no idea if it'll work on your parents, though.
I don't even think they're going to take me to Linux Fast Northwest again because they were bored out of their minds.
All right, Steve, last word, brother.
Thanks as always. It was great seeing Eric and Nate on Destination Linux. Good episode. And we'll see you guys next week. We'll see if I survive.
Humor. Last word, sir.
Oh, hello. And yeah, it will be a very interesting week with Arch Linux. And I think I will just put classical music playing on the background and then start.
Is that to soothe you while you're pulling your hair out?
I don't know. It's the same feeling when you drive with the truck on the Aero Truck Simulator and you're just driving over everybody else. So.
Well, and I can recommend maybe some deep breathing exercises, incense.
Or as Mark Greaves said in chat, when you get to step 7,954,862, just install Ubuntu.
Wow. Well, Simon's last word. Go ahead, Homer.
I have also the Arco Linux D on the back trunk for if things go wrong too much. It'll be fun. Thanks for inviting me here. Yeah.
Yep. Well, Arco D is another possibility if you're having trouble with, the plain install. So Simon's last word is he will install Arch, but he wants you to go check out Lubuntu at lubuntu.me. So there you go.
And
Chris is there, by the way.
Back with us.
Yeah. Oh,
I'm sorry?
Chris is back with us. Chris, have you got a last word? No, he's just gone again. My bad.
Okay. Chris, last word.
Yes. I don't have anything other than great to be back. We had fun with field day last week, and this week should be able to get things rocking and rolling. See what we get.
All right. I think that's it for us. I believe I remembered to say everything. I had notes, but who reads notes? Going to install Arch this week. That's our distro challenge. Thank you all for showing up. I appreciate it. Other than that, we will see you next week. So remember, long live Linux.
Bye, guys.
Take care, everybody.
Seriously, Simon, get us minimal install.
See you.
Wait, doesn't Ubuntu have minimal install? I swear